Hey all, welcome back to Time Machine Scale Models. Well, it's done. Not without its problems, but I can call it finished. I did not anticipate what a bear this was going to be. Everything went together smooth when I was building the chassis and everything and putting everything together. But when it came to the body, it just was not as smooth. Let's address the first problem. The decals. The decals are just disintegrating in my hands. So I ordered some off eBay and they came. And I don't want to talk bad about anybody that's in the hobby, but they just were not crisp. I'm not sure what program they used to make the decals, but the gradient colors from the red to the yellow just weren't there. This right here was just, it was kind of wonky. It just didn't look good. And then there was no white and black border on the stripes. So luckily, I did not tear these stripes off. So it's a mix of kit decals with some of the aftermarket decals. And they turned out okay. So this is a Tester's Gloss Black in a 1K clear coat from AutoZone. It's called Raptor Clear Coat. It came out pretty good. I did not wet sand and polish the clear coat. It is as it was sprayed after I finished spraying it. I just basically got over it. I was just like, I'm done. It looks great for the shelf, and that's all I'm gonna do. So let's take a look. Obviously, we talked about the decals, we talked about the paint. The interior is your typical race car interior. One of the things that I had a problem with was the front windshield. It did not want to fit. It wasn't even the same shape as the windshield opening. And I tried to make it fit. I tried filing on it. I tried getting it to fit. I had it glued in and it popped out. And the reason why it popped out was because it wasn't the same shape. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I grabbed some clear sheet. And I made a template out of poster board, and I cut the first one. And I was on a phone call and I was filing the edges, and I ended up filing the corners a little bit too round, so then they became they developed a gap. So I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna do another one. So I ended up doing another one early this morning, and this is the one you see in the car. The window trim, the windshield trim, is actually black washi tape. And that primarily hides the glue that I used. I had to use super glue and let it gas out. And the Mod Podge just was not holding that in. And no matter how long I held it, no matter how long I clamped it, it just wasn't holding. And speaking of clamps, when I was clamping the windshield in the first time around, the box stock windshield, I was using soft-jawed clamps, and they marred the paint. They put dents in my paint here in the door and up here on the A-pillars, both sides. And, you know, I thought everything was dried and cured, but apparently I wasn't. It was still soft underneath. It's not too bad, but it's noticeable. I mean, this isn't going to any shows. This is going on a shelf. So let's take a look under the hood. I like to color coordinate my things. So even when I race stock cars and modifieds, I always tried to buy my parts and color coordinate my stuff. So you see, I used some metal casts for the air cleaner, the Moroso air cleaner. I had one just like it on one of my race cars. It does have plug wires. I used a Parts by Parks distributor. it is wired underneath the 180 degree headers. So that's why you don't see them. I used craft cord to replicate steel braided hoses. That's about it under there. Take a look underneath. Again, I tried to make it as clean as I possibly could. That gold oil pan never really came out the way that I wanted it to, so it is what it is. It's gold, that's it. It didn't come out looking like that zinc. Oil cooler, little water separator, fuel water separator there. It's got a red anodized top. You can't see it. This is kind of finicky, you know. It was quite the finicky build, and I wasn't expecting that. When I was putting the chassis together, everything seemed to be going well until I started putting everything together, and then it's, you know, it just wasn't going well. But it is what it is. I'm glad this build is over. I can move on to the Nova and get that completed, and then move on to the 60 truck. I also want to show you something else I did. I ended up making a little exhaust flange. I cut that out of a Coke can. Now, like I think I said a while ago, the kit instructions call for a flat black interior. Well, I've seen this car before in person and in real life, and it did not have a black interior. It had gloss gray interior. And if you recall, I did the cage and chassis a little lighter, and I did the interior tins a little darker. And the kit called for black wide fives, and I never liked black wheels. I always had silver powder coated wheels on my race cars, so I went with that. Ironically, my number was 17, and my colors were black, red, orange, and yellow. So I always loved this car for that reason. And I always wanted to run a third gen Camaro body, but they wouldn't let me. They outlawed third gen Camaro bodies for some reason in the classes that I ran. And I only ever ran one class. It was called ABC Stock Cars. That basically, ABC Stock Cars, you ran the feature based on your qualifying times. And I had a Monte Carlo body car at that time, and there was a couple Camaros, and they were pretty sweet looking. And I always wanted a Camaro, and I had always intended on putting a Camaro body on my car, but I ended up moving up to modified division, and then eventually in 2020 I retired from stock car racing altogether. Well, this is it, and this is all I have. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share if you'd like. Leave me some comments down below, some critique, and happy modeling.